The Art of Being Ruled. Wyndham Lewis. Original publication 1926. 1989 edition. Narrated by Skeptical Waves. Part 6. Sub Persona Infantis. Chapter 3. Buy me an airball, please. The sardonic genius that is putting our matrons into flesh-colored tights and short skirts, and that will soon have our most venerable political leaders in Eton collars, and perhaps bare legs, deserves, if anything does, a memorial. I will not dishonor it with anything less compendious than it merits. Some approximation to the super young or the naive is a universal fashionable expedient today. It is the cult of the child, which is a far more fundamental thing than the cult of the artist. For this exaggeration of something common to every time a great variety of explanations is offered. It is in Freudian language, for instance, the desire of man to return into the womb from whence he came, a movement of retreat and discouragement, a part of the great strategy of defeat suggested to or evolved by our bankrupt society. Certainly there is a great deal of this discouragement and fear in it. This has been well expressed by one of the most remarkable of contemporary poets in the love song of Prufrock. After the poor tormented soul he has shown us describes his rather bald head being brought in on a platter, and other blood-curdling images of what has been called the old man complex, the romantic magnifications of a man who allows the world to be too much with him and dominate him, he is made to conclude with quaint candor, and I was afraid. At all events, at the root of the mechanical, subconscious obsession that in the fashions takes such ridiculous forms that it is impossible not to suppose that there is a mind at the back of them capable of appreciating a joke, perhaps too well, though the wisdom of this comedian can be doubted, is the reflection of political decay, the stopping up and closing down of the great traditional vents for ambition, and the overthrow of any public life that could claim a significance beyond the function of office boy and valet. It is the diagnostic of a frantic longing to refresh, rejuvenate, and invigorate a life that, it is felt, has grown old and too unsimple, and lost its native direction. It is the most thoroughly organized reversal and returning on its steps of mankind that has occurred. It is, however, a frantic longing that is very thoroughly organized indeed. All the channels of publicity foster it. It is a part of the great, and I believe fecund, solution of the problem of power. For to make everybody like unto little children is not such a bad way, to start with, of disposing of them. The political power that is taking command in the world today seems to have said to all those immature, and apertiva people, who were gradually forced away from the seats of authority that they had for so long held in Europe, run away and play. Frightened and astonished, they ran away sure enough, and are allowed to play also, for a moment. But it will not be for long. That is why the fashions devised to fit this temporary situation should be disregarded when you are desirous of reaching some insight into the real tendencies of which they are only a caricatural, early phase. The advertisement given to this phase in the newspapers is very extensive. But it is often no less sardonic than, as we have said, it is natural to suppose the Prospero of fashion to be. Here, for instance, is an account, from the Daily Mail, August 1925, of the English visitors playing at children at Deauville. Young again. One joyous hour at Deauville. Happy childish English. Foreigners who don't understand. By our special correspondent. Deauville, August 20th. Watching the English playing like children is one of the regular diversions at Deauville, where there are so few real children to play. In the quiet of the afternoons between luncheon and tea on the rare days when there is no racing, English men and women come out to play with model yachts and kites and big rubber balls, and people of other nations stand and stare at the keen zest and serious purpose of these boyish men and girlish women recapturing something of the simple joys of childhood. A tall, blond man with the carriage of a guardsman and the limbs of a heavyweight boxer comes striding down the shore, an old sun hat on his head, and in his hand a toy yacht, cutter-rigged, designed and built to withstand the toy tempest. A slender girl rushes up from the sea to meet him. She may be 20 or she may be 30. When a woman keeps her figure she can also keep the secret of her age, but whatever her age, she is now a little girl again walking beside a big boy, and begging prettily to be allowed to play with the beautiful boat. And he, the proud owner of the beautiful boat, permits her to pat the hull, but she must not touch the rudder, that is the captain's privilege, but she may swim out, and when the boat reaches her she may turn it round and send it on the other tack scudding valiantly back to the big boy. So it is arranged, and the important game begins, all very grave and serious and young. How anxiously the two watch the launching of the boat in the water that is little more than a ripple for the fishing boats out there, but is such a tempestuous sea to the brave little boat. Only playful zephyrs tease the sails of the fishing boats, but mighty winds strike the frail craft, beating it down to the gunwale, while the mad foam leaps over the bow and great seas wash the decks, and the mast bends like a whip and the spars strain, The ropes twang, as the gallant yacht lays down to her work and races through the storm. Loudly the skipper and his mate cheer her on as, reaching, beating, and scudding, she shows her paces, the crack boat of the toy regatta. Millionaires and semi-millionaires from the Argentine, from Manhattan, from the Middle West, from Central Europe, and from the Far East, watch in wonder the childish play of the English man and the English woman, so proud of their toy, so concerned for its safety. Young Frenchmen resting from their hard-fought games on the tennis court smile with more than a suggestion of contempt, but the boy man and the girl woman heed them not at all. Happy childhood is calling through the years, and they are content to play, unashamed of their joy in the childish game, and glad to lay aside the burden of years for one fleeting hour while the sun shines and the sea sparkles and the world seems made for play. Spurning the lazy tide, other boy men and girl women merrily chase a big ball as it bounces from wavelet to wavelet, and their voices, too, hold the careless rapture of childhood. Just for an hour, they seem to say, just for an hour let us be young again. Just for an hour let nothing matter but the crazy frolics of a big, bouncing ball. Oh! The big ball has hit Jack on the nose and knocked him floundering on his back. Look out, he is going to throw it. Bang! That was one for May. Keep it going, keep it going. When a feminine figure in a costume symbolizing the tenderest years, clinging to a protecting arm, in some pastiche of an antiquated relationship, catches sight of a floating mass of airballs, and, capering ecstatically against him, pleads with her companion, "Oh! Peas, do buy me an airball, that lovely green one." A situation of probably Mousterian antiquity is reproduced for whoever happens to be observing the display. It is unfortunate, but there it is. People manufacture such pictures and situations out of their sexual interplay, to serve a social rather than a sexual vanity. But aside from vanity, sex will still manufacture things on the same lines. Even Jonathan Swift, at an advanced age, used little language. Ooh, it'll devil is Stella. It is one of those accompaniments of human life which, when the life force is full of metal and at its most complex and ambitious, is kept in the background. It is not so much, therefore, that there is anything intrinsically novel in the type of events described in the Daily Mail, as that the background has become the foreground. Little life obsesses the impoverished landscape. It becomes a dogma of perfection, like Christ's little children. It is a highly organized cult, associated with others of the same blood with itself. And whereas formerly it was confined to grown-up and elderly people, now real children also play at being children, even outdoing their most skillful adult imitators.